Alert 4, this is a breaking news alert.
Breaking first at 5, a trail of smoke billowing into the air after a disaster on the Mississippi River. Right now, an investigation is widening into the crash of a helicopter onto a barge. The eyewitness accounts, the video, all of it first here on 4. And Drone 4 first in the air over the wreckage this afternoon in Alton. Take a look at this. That is the helicopter which 2 people were in. It is now barely recognizable after that crash. The accident in Alton happened right after 11 this morning. The helicopter had a crew working on power lines on the Missouri side of the Big River when it clipped a line and crash landed onto that barge below. Thank you so much for joining us. We have live Team 4 coverage at 5. It begins with our Corey Stark, who is on the ground for us in Alton, where some of our first eyewitness accounts come from. Corey, they are incredible eyewitness accounts.
Yeah, Lauren, no doubt. First, let me tell you where I am on the east side of the Mississippi, about a few miles south of the Clark Bridge. And 11 o'clock this morning, when that accident happened, there were people milling about this side of the Mississippi River. But since then, over the last couple of hours, it's been very quiet here at the scene, not a lot of activity. In fact, the only activity we've seen over the last 30 minutes or so on shore or in the water, if you look out into the Mississippi River, you can see a boat with flashing lights. Now, we don't know if that boat is involved in this investigation at all into this helicopter crash. We can tell you the NTSB and FAA will be conducting investigations, but again, we don't know if this boat is involved in the investigation at this point. If you look beyond where those flashing lights are, you can see the barges, and that is where that helicopter, after it clipped one of the power lines, came crashing down onto one of those barges. But as I mentioned, at around 11 o'clock when this crash happened, there were people on shore and witnessed this horrific accident happen. I want to bring in our Russell Kinsaw, because Russell, you've been talking to a lot of those witnesses who saw this happen today.
Yeah, there were several witnesses. In fact, they were fishing the Melvin Price Lock and Dam, popular place to fish. They were just below the dam, and they said they saw the helicopter make several trips from this side to that side, working on those high tension lines. But then right before their eyes, they saw a tragedy. Eyewitness Charles Kemp got emotional when talking about seeing the helicopter crash. Here's how he described what he saw.
It was a white flash and then orange flames, like a red or orange-red ball, then it was black smoke. And you could hear the pop.
Here's the helicopter shortly before the crash. It's seen here ferrying a crew to the top of a transmission line tower. A short time later, witnesses watched as the helicopter crew began to attach one of these high visibility balls to one of the power lines.
And it seemed like the helicopter was a little off kilter, I would say. Maybe had a little weight on one side.
Adam Briggs says he looked away for just a few moments and then later heard the sound of an explosion. Then he looked up, and here's what he saw.
I just saw it probably 30 feet from the ground. And the time I heard it to pick my head up, it fell rapidly. As soon as it hit the barge, it was black smoke and flames. I heard the explosion. I heard probably 6 to 8 more smaller ones.
The helicopter landed on a barge in the Mississippi River. First responders couldn't access the crash by land, and it took some time for firefighters to launch their boats and reach the scene, but others tried to help.
The first people to respond were the tugboat captains. The bigger tugboat that was attached to the barge that fell on had a water tour going.
Charles Kent got a little bit of emotional when he was talking about it with his own eyes, seeing a helicopter fall out of the sky. Corey, he got really choked up when he started talking about the fact that he witnessed 2 people losing their lives today.
So sad. Russell, thank you for that report. We want to continue our live Team 4 coverage tonight with our John Kipper, who joins us from the other side of the Mississippi River. John.
Yeah, Corey, as you mentioned, I'm on the Missouri side of the river, and you may be able to see power lines behind me. Well, those are the same power lines that the helicopter struck before exploding, leading to the death of 2 people just earlier today. And we also found one witness who says he was still just in utter disbelief about what he saw.
All you seen was a fiery ball.
Wallace Meyer, known as Captain Wally, was catching fish during an expedition Thursday morning when he saw a helicopter for the first time in this part of the river.
But it was doing something with the balls up there, and then all of a sudden it touched the line, and in 2 seconds it wasn't a helicopter anymore. It was 1,000 pieces.
The Missouri State Highway Patrol says a helicopter was working on power lines when it hit the lines and crashed onto a barge.
There was a fire on top of the barge, but it was put out very, very quickly.
Meyer says the barge caught fire quickly, and it was extinguished extremely fast, only because a worker on another barge scurried over and sprayed the flaming barge with water.
That could have been a way bigger disaster than what it already is.
Ameren says a contractor and subcontractor were fixing and replacing tower lighting and marker balls, but we don't yet know the companies involved in that work. The power line remains in the river, but it's inactive. For Meyer, this tragedy will stick with him.
It don't look like that in a movie. I mean, the movies, you know, they're more dramatic. You can see the helicopter. This was instantaneously, and within 10 seconds, it was in the air and it was landing on that barge. I'll never forget it.
Now, right now, the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating what happened here today, and we're expecting a preliminary report as soon as tomorrow. Corey, we're going to send it back over to you.
All right, John, thank you. Speaking of the FAA, we just got word that they have put flight restrictions over this crash site, so that's a development we'll continue to follow as well. But we're going to continue to follow this big story for today, and coming up in about 10 minutes from now, First Alert 4 Investigates has been combing through other NTSB investigations and found several similar helicopter crashes involving linemen around the country. We're going to dig further into this specialized work that's coming up ahead here still at 5 o'clock. Lauren, I know you've spent the afternoon digging into all of that, and we'll hear that report coming up. Lauren?
Yeah, all of it's still a developing situation, Corey, on the ground there. Thank you very much. We were the first to alert you about this deadly helicopter crash that was on the First Alert 4 News app. Make sure you have it downloaded so you can stay updated on this developing story. You can scan that QR code that you see right there on your screen, then turn on notifications to get the very latest information.